different neighborhoods. So we, the members, are the representative of that neighborhood. So, you know, I live in Park Slope, you live in Bay Ridge, is it? In Bensonhurst.
District 41.
Right, so we all...
The Upper West Side of Manhattan.
So the point is that so far, we are the representative of our own neighborhood. And as we grow, then we can start spreading the words and have people from that neighborhood join us more and more. So that's how we're working on it.
And I am a district leader of the 44th district. But I hear what you're saying, and as we move forward, we would love to have your input on how maybe you wanted to foresee that facilitated through the Brooklyn Tea Party.
Sure.
You're a little big.
Okay, well,
Hey Glenn, why don't you give some bona fides for our speaker?
Yes.
What's his background?
if those of you, well, I think he'll be best to say that, but just a quick short snippet. Everyone remembers David Storobin, right, for the most part? He's the state senator from Brooklyn, which is kind of from the Republican Party, right?
Yeah.
Kind of hard to say, not that many. Nice, too.
Yeah.
Back from the 1880s.
Yeah.
So he did an amazing
Wait,
feat.
there were Republicans in Brooklyn in the 1880s?
Yes, there was.
And I'm going with
And I used to be the president of a club called the Brooklyn Young Republican Club, and they started in 1880, and actually it's still around, and Brooklyn actually had Republicans, and actually Brooklyn elected a Republican president, Garfield, because the amount of votes brought in from the club that organized the votes swung New York State's electoral votes, and that was the difference in the Electoral College. But we do not take credit for his assassination 9 months later. So, Mr.
Democrats.
It was a Democrat. So, with that being said, Brooklyn was a Republican powerhouse, as they were electing Republicans, but David did it in a time where, as we know, we're outnumbered 10-1 in Brooklyn administration, and he did an amazing job. And those of you that were in the Tea Party in the past know that David was a member and a big organizer of the Brooklyn Tea Party in the past, and we thank him and we welcome him back.
The first meeting of the Brooklyn Tea Party actually took place in my law office. Because, yeah, I was one of the organizers early on with John Press and some other people, and then we had another president, and now Glenn has taken, we had a couple of presidents, I think, and then Glenn took over, and I've known Glenn since, I think since before you were the president of the Young Republicans, and he's done a great job with them. And
we met at St. Francis College.
Yes, yes.
Veteran.
I remember the first time I came to the Republican Party meeting itself, and I looked around, and what he was saying about the 1880s, everyone there looked like they were still around in the 1880s. One of the jokes that we kept on making is that there's not a lot of Italians and Jews here, just Romans and Hebrews.
One in Rome, right? One in Rome.
But obviously we need people of all ages, and it's great to see people here from somebody who is obviously in school to somebody who is old enough to be her grandparents. Because it should be a party that actually is involving people of all the different backgrounds, age-wise, and so on, because there's not a lot of us here. As you mentioned, it's 10-1 Democrat in Brooklyn. It's in my district where I got elected was 4-1, and that was considered a phenomenal district. That was a great chance, and everyone was saying, it's a great district, it's only 4-1 Democrat. Yeah, I mean, in a normal place you go, it's a great district, it's 4-1 Republican. In Brooklyn, not so much, because we do have, to be honest, we just don't have a good operation in Brooklyn. We haven't had that. We had a lot of infighting in Brooklyn, and that's been one of the issues. And the problem with infighting is that nobody brings in other people into the party. Because everyone's concerned, well, are you going to be on my side, are you going to be on the other side? And while we fight, there's nothing to split at this point. What are we dividing in the Republican Party in Brooklyn? I mean, we haven't won enough seats. We don't have enough influence over anything. We have city council with 3 Republicans in New York City.
Out of 51 members,
Out of 51 members. None of them are in Brooklyn. None of them. There are elections where, in most elections, we don't have a candidate, and if we do, we have people getting 12%. There's got to be more than 12% Republicans in every single district. There's no district where it doesn't make sense for more than 12 people to vote Republican. We just haven't done a good job organizing. And any hope that people have of this happening from the top is just not going to happen. This is really going to be like the Brooklyn Tea Party situation, or regular people joining together and doing things on their own. In Bay Ridge, we have what's called the Friends of Marty Golden. Okay, like that's the operation. It's Marty Golden's operation. He was not a politician. He was a cop. He got shot. He was retired, and then he just met with his wife, and they went, "We should do something." And in this neighborhood and going further south, it was Friends of David, and Glenn was one of them, and certainly a lot of other people in this room. I'm seeing a lot of faces here who were involved in my campaign as journalists, as you know, all sorts of people. And that's exactly how it was. First time I went to Albany, it was a year and 12 days before I got elected. They wouldn't let me into the room to discuss my candidacy. I showed up, they went, "Thank you for coming, but go home." On the way back, the guy I was with got a phone call, and because we were driving, there was a speakerphone, and it was like, no, we're not running anyone, we have a Democrat, we're just going to support the Democrat, that's what's going to happen, why do we even bother with this? He's not going to be the candidate, just leave it alone. And a year and 12 days later, I got elected to the state senate. And this is how it has to happen. There's not going to be any kind of a great savior coming in and helping us. It's the same thing with fundraising. Every time we'd call someone and I'm like, okay, I need to raise some money. What would everyone tell me? Oh, I don't have $500,000 to give you. I don't need people to give me $500,000. I raised about $30,000 in $50, actually $40 or less we counted. There would be like grandmas coming in and giving me $20 for stamps. And everyone would go, okay, well, how much would that matter? Or somebody would give money through the website. But a whole bunch of people giving you $20 raises a lot of money. A whole bunch of people giving you maybe a little bit more raises more money. And then all together, the first campaign we raised about 180, and the second campaign we raised about 330. That's excluding what the Republicans came in and gave us later. But the Republicans only gave us money once we had money. Once I actually had a campaign, once I had proven something, at that point they really had no choice, and at that point the Brooklyn Conservative Party came in, and the state Senate Republicans came in, and they helped out. But originally, like I said, they told me you can't come in here. And that's what will have to happen. There is no organized party in the same sense that you guys imagine. And I mean, I know that people who are involved with the GOP are going to be upset with me, but I don't care anymore, frankly. I'm not involved in politics anymore beyond, you know, meeting regular people. So I can actually tell you how things are. It's, in a way, it's also an opportunity for a lot of people, because if you're running as a Democrat, or if you want to be involved as a Democrat, you're going to be giving out flyers for the next 25 years until, you know, you have tears coming out of your eyes from all that flyer giving out. And there's not going to be a chance for you to do anything else. It's going to be very hard to become a consultant. It's going to be very hard to become a staffer. It's going to be certainly extremely hard to run for office. On the Republican side, we don't have a lot of people. And if you are smart, you will get a chance. If you actually want to learn how to do this. And intelligence it's not the be-all, end-all. You actually have to know how to do this. So in the run-up to my elections, I would walk around with other candidates, and I would literally try to figure out which stores would put up your storefront sign. What's the percentage of them that would let you in? What kind of different stores would let you in? So we're talking about, let's say, grocery stores. I'm very likely to put up your sign, especially if you say you're Republican. They're all small business owners. They all hate the fines that they get, the taxes they get, the regulations they get. So long as you say, I'm a Republican, regardless of their background, old, young, racial background, man, woman, they overwhelmingly wind up being Republican. corporate stores, they don't want to get involved. If you're Verizon, you have to get permission from your corporate headquarters. That's not going to happen. So that's how you kind of learn those basics of actually doing it. Like if you run a restaurant, you have to be a dishwasher to the manager before you run a restaurant. Same thing, if you're going to be a campaign manager, you have to be the flyers boy or flyers girl all the way to everything else before you can be a campaign manager. But there's that chance to do something. You can step up and actually make a difference. There are some districts here that, if you look at the Republican Party registration, you mentioned you're in the 41st, right? I'm in the 41st also. So it might be neighbors, I don't know which part of it, but in the 41st, we never have candidates running or we don't have any legitimate candidates running there. I mean, by legitimate, I mean somebody who's actually going to take the time off to run, somebody who's going to fundraise a decent amount of money to get your name out there. And we have more Republicans in that district than usually you need to win that seat, if you look at how many votes you get to win that seat. So, plus you get independents, a lot of them, plus you get some of the Democrats. A lot of people just registered Democrats because they're registered in 1974. And they don't believe it anymore because the Democratic Party has moved so far to the left that it just, like, I always talk about how Bill Clinton, if he ran today the way that he ran in 1992, would be some far-right extremist. Like, that's how far the nation has changed, if you think about it, because he ran welfare reform. How many Republicans of the 17 who ran this year ran on that? How many? He ran on more policing. How many Republicans of the 17 ran on that? We have a situation where the Democrats have just gone off the left at this point because, I mean, let's take the whole transvestite issue. So I just want to be clear about something. The president of Harvard got fired for saying that the reason that people choose different majors is that men and women are different. So in their brains, they're different, that's why they have different interests. Yet we're supposed to believe that Caitlyn Jenner and so on have a female brain. So the only time that you can believe that somebody has a feminine brain is if they have a penis. That is the position of the Democratic Party. That is the only way that you can acknowledge that men and women can have different interests. Like women might be more interested in, let's say, medicine or education, men in like, car repair or engineering or something like that. Not every person. But, there will be some kind of differences that nobody forced. But we can't say that. Unless, of course, we're talking about transvestites. In that case, we all have to admit that to be the case. And it's been like, recently I've reread 1984, and it's like every page you read is Democratic Party. Every single page. If somebody wants to pull up a random page, just call out a number and I'll pull it up, it's online. There's every single page that we have there is straight out of that. So nothing is what it seems. You have to believe what they say, not what you can see with your own eyes. He talks about at one point how ignorance is strength and slavery is freedom and like just everything being the opposite of what it is. And at another point he talks about how there's no such thing as a crime except a thought crime, which is what we see right now when you have riots happening and then people go, well, somebody may have said something. And I'm like, that's not quite the same. A friend of mine, she's a Democrat, and I kept on mentioning how liberals always wind up rioting for everything, every issue. Occupy Wall Street, Black Lives Matter, the Seattle riots. In Europe, we have riots everywhere. Every time if it's this many liberals in the room, there will be a riot, right? If somebody is giving a speech in a college campus, there will be a whole bunch of people showing up. Incidentally, they wind up screaming safety.
Oh, safety pins they wear too.
Yeah, and they're the ones who are violent, because like 1984, everything is the opposite of what it seems. And they wind up being violent, and she goes, well, Trump also said certain things. I'm like, he said things. If you don't like, for instance, what I'm saying right now, you know what you can do? Not listen to me. I'm not showing up at your house and holding you by your throat going, no, 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 listen to me. Same thing with whoever, you know, they're blocking Nathan Sharansky, who is like the Russian Jewish Nelson Mandela. He's blocked from a lot of colleges from speaking because he's a centrist member, or was a centrist member of the Israeli government. He was a right wing, he wasn't left wing. He was right down the center. And the left has gone completely off the deep end. They are violent. They say things that nobody could possibly believe. Nobody believes that Caitlyn Jenner is really Bruce Jenner. Is a woman. Then they go, gender is a social construct. Really? Have you seen yourself when you change? It's not a social construct. It's called biology.
Yeah.
And I love how they'll go, oh, Republicans are anti-scientific. Really? Which one of us is anti-scientific? Because I'm pretty sure we can figure out, not only by looking at people's bodies, just by looking at people's faces. By touching people's hair, like estrogen makes people's hair softer and testosterone makes it more harsh, you know? Like every feature of your body, you can figure things out, like the width of your shoulders and so on. You can figure out just by looking at a person's body and a person's face and a person's brain if you scan it. And yet they believe that that's not the case. With the Black Lives Matter movement, people have to apologize for saying all lives matter. Governor O'Malley, who's running for president, said, and I'm quoting, all lives matter. What? Black lives matter, white lives matter, Hispanic lives matter, Asian lives matter. He doesn't have to apologize. Why do you apologize for that? It's the most inclusive statement. It's the most obvious statement. If I go outside and somebody gets hit by a truck, my first response is, was the guy Asian or was he Hispanic? You know what I mean? Like, that's not what goes through my mind at that point. The person just got hit. What a horrible thing. Let's call 911. It's not, oh, he's not Asian. Screw this. I'm not calling 911.
So, racist.
Yeah, it is actually racist. Not racism as treating people as people, right? So, and the left has been stroking every kind of division and anger that they can possibly force upon us. Because in a regular life, think about it, how much do you really discuss all those things? I'm not talking about when the TV tries to start things up and then everyone gets involved, gets all riled up. When you have your neighbor or your co-worker or whatever, do you judge them being based on their race or gender or whatever? Do you judge them based on, are they nice to me? Are they going to commit a crime against me? Are they, interesting as a person to me? Because that's how most people think in real life. And then somebody comes in and they start to say, oh, the men are out to get women. Which I always found, like as Ronald Reagan said, there's too much commingling for there to be a gender war. Because everyone who goes home, it's like your wife is a woman, your mother is a woman, your daughter is a woman, and then you go, okay, I really don't want to wage a war against my wife. Okay? That seems a little insane. Although some people might want to wage a war against their wife, but that's a different issue, not because she's a woman. But just a friend of mine, she used to be a friend of mine when she was involved with the Republicans, and then she went to college, and then she came back completely off the deep reservation. She was trying to convince me, because that's what the liberal college professors told her, that men want rape laws to be legal because it benefits men. My response to that was, well, then why was your father always concerned every time you would stay out at night? And her response was, well, because he has a daughter. And I go, well, don't everyone else have like daughters, mothers, sisters, wives, girlfriends, friends? Like, how did I come here? Do you think that I just landed from the moon? Like, no, there's at least one woman involved in my life who made me. So, it just seems like an insane kind of thing to suggest that it benefits men to harm women. And the same thing when people talk about, white people don't want black people to succeed, really. So they want to lock them up. So I would rather that a black person